And joining us in the studio is Ole Lund Hansen, Chief of Global Operations at UN Global Compact. Fantastic to have you with us today, Mr. Hansen.
Thank you so much for having me here.
I know you're here to participate in the Expo, but also in the China International Economic Forum, which is being held in parallel to the Expo itself. And the forum focuses on joint development and opening up this year. Can you shed light on your understanding of that theme?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's great to be here at the Expo, and I think that theme for the forum, I think really is exciting for us. I mean, we're working on some of the biggest global challenges and how we can address them, and that's really all about joining hands. It's about making sure that we have international trade, we have international collaboration. If we don't join hands across nations, across sectors, there's no way we can solve those challenges and address them. And really our success in doing so, that'll mean, everything in terms of the future that we all live in.
How does the theme of the forum, I mean, joint development, joint opening up, fit into what you do here? Because you've led the strategy development and support for more than 70 global impact networks throughout the years. How do you envision these networks furthering what we just talked about, development and opening up?
Yes, so in the UN Global Compact, which is the largest business and sustainability initiative globally, we work with more than 20,000 companies across 70 countries. And what is really fundamental to us is that business and trade is a big part of the solution to these global challenges, whether that's climate change, pollution of the oceans, the crisis in biodiversity that we see. So we really see that we need to work with business, and business need to collaborate and trade with each other. We all know how, and China is a great example of that, of course, how businesses are critical to driving growth, employment, development, eliminate poverty, etc. What we also see is really fundamental is that business and trade is aligned with the 10 principles of the United Nations Global Compact. Because in that way we can make sure that business, investments, innovations, that they really expand the benefit of business to trade also to those broader populations that in some cases are currently left behind. We can also make sure by really integrating UN values into trade and into business, we can also make sure that growth and development really goes hand in hand with protecting the environment, climate change, nature, etc.
I'm really curious about something you just said. How do you instill these values of the United Nations with those companies? You obviously work with a large grouping of companies and help them really map out what works for them in terms of sustainability. How do you do that? How do you tell companies that this is something that you should do in face of our common challenges at this time?
Yeah. So as you mentioned before, we have these networks of businesses in so many countries, including here in China, where we work with almost 1,000 both state-owned and private companies. So what we really do is support them in developing, for example, climate emission reduction strategies. We work with them on improving gender equality throughout the whole business. We work also to make sure that investments into the Belt and Road Initiative, for example, take due consideration of social and environmental issues. And there's so many business making great progress. What is critical here, as you ask, right? Why are businesses doing that? Well, on the one hand, when businesses integrate these values, on the one hand, right, they contribute to the development objectives of the country.
Absolutely.
They contribute to the sustainable development goals that we have globally. But what we also see, and this is critical, of course, to a business that also wants to grow and to trade, is that we see it really improving the competitiveness of the company when it works internationally. We see it building brand integrity, customer loyalty, and we also see it's really critical these days. We're all talking about ESG, so having that kind of responsible and sustainable approach to business is also critical to attracting international capital. That's
a very important mindset to have, because for a lot of companies, going green and going more sustainable, it can feel like a burden. I mean, it's an extra layer that will increase your competitiveness on the international level here. And you do all of that on a daily basis, what you've told us, but how do you plan to leverage the platform here at the CIIE to really advance those ties with Chinese and international businesses and companies?
Yeah. I mean, as you mentioned in the opening, a lot of this is about innovation, it's about solution. When you look at these global challenges, they're defining the future, but if you look at them with an entrepreneurial business mindset, they're at the same time the biggest market opportunities you can find globally. So for the companies that can develop the right technologies, that can develop the right solutions, these are really big market opportunities if you want to be part of the solution. So it's very important for us and for the businesses that we work with that this is not about a trade-off between developing your business and advancing sustainable development. It's really about finding the innovative opportunities and the market opportunities really in solving some of the big problems that exist for all of us.
We are running out of time, but very quickly, last question to you. What message would you convey, on top of what you said just now, what message would you convey to businesses attending the CIIE here in Shanghai about responsible business practices?
Yeah, so I would say indeed, like we see so many of the Chinese companies that we're working on, invest in sustainability that drives international competitiveness. That's the foundation for long-term international trade, and that's the big message here, and that's what we're seeing a lot of companies do. And at the Expo, I think that's a wonderful opportunity really for those businesses to demonstrate those innovations, those solutions, help inspire other entrepreneurs around the world and here in China, and attract new business partners and attract new investors.
Mr. Hansen, it's a pleasure to have you on our special program today. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you again for having me.